Today we're talking about how you can best take care of yourself now that we're coming out of COVID. Are you ready? Because it's time.
Holy nuclear time bombs! Holy overeating! Holy roller coasters!
It's time!
It's time.
It's time for the YM Sidekick Podcast!
Hello, heroes. My name is Tom Pounder, and you are listening to the YM Sidekick Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about tips and tools and how to do ministry more effectively in this very digital and online world. And today I'm really excited to have Christopher Wesley back on. Chris has been on my podcast numerous times, and it's always great talking with him. And today we're talking about how to take care of yourself, a little mental health stuff, because we are finally coming out of COVID. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and we realize that we are pretty messed up. we have established some really bad habits, and we are doing things that we're not taking care of ourselves. And as we are coming out of it, it's becoming more and more clear that how unhealthy we are. So Chris and I talk about what it looks like to take care of yourself and how you can best do that today. So I'm really excited to have him on. So without any further ado, let's get in the interview right now with Christopher Wesley. All right, with me right now is my friend Christopher Wesley. Chris, how are you, man?
I am hanging in there, Tom. It feels like it's been too long since we've had these recorded conversations you call podcasts.
I know, because right now, last time we were just talking about baseball, but now we're in the throes of baseball season, and your Yankees, well, my Nats, I wasn't expecting much from them this year, but your Yankees are kind of teetering on what's going on with them.
I don't know. I think, I don't know. That's all I gotta say is, thank God it's not the 60 game season this year. That's all I gotta say with that. So
that's true. There's plenty of time to get it all worked out. I do love seeing the fans in the stands, though. That it is awesome like that. So
agreed.
Okay, Chris. Well, you've been on the podcast numerous times, but in case somebody hasn't met you before or heard you, to share a little bit about your background.
My name's Chris Wesley, and I am the founder of Marathon Youth Ministry, an organization that works with ministry leaders to help them rediscover their joy. And we do that through offering coaching and cohorts that focus on professional and personal development. And then I also am a full-time youth minister at a local parish in the Baltimore area. And then do a whole bunch of other things on the side, from my own podcast to, running and so forth. But yeah, that's who I am.
Yeah. If you've never checked out Chris's site, marathonyouthministry.com, you need to. He's got tons of coaching stuff. He's got some cohorts and some other things on his site. So definitely go and check it out. I'll include the links on the show notes. But it's kind of funny because we're going to talk about mental health a little bit. And I'm going to be honest, you look great, man. Nobody can see you. I can see you here, but you look great. And so you must be doing something right with your mental health after the year that we've had, or the year and a half that we've had. So let's talk a little bit about mental health and your background. So just get us started on why you're passionate about this right now and what you're thinking about.
Yeah, I appreciate you think I look great and everything. Meanwhile, the house is burning behind me, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. And sort of not. But yeah, I've gotten passionate about mental health because let's just face it, the last year has been so messed up. And there have been periods where I thought I was okay. And then all of a sudden it's like, Tom, I'm on the floor crying, just wondering what the heck is going on and where God is in all these things. But I think what has helped me get through this is the fact of being okay with not being okay, right? And realizing that there are just gonna be we're broken people who are in need of healing, and that if we're gonna really not just get through life, but evangelize and bring people to the Lord, that we have to be okay with our own authenticity and our own brokenness. And And so in the last year, I've been talking to a bunch of friends who I know are in the mental health field. I've got a good friend who does research at Harvard for PTSD, and just, my wife who is in HR and I were behavioral health and behavioral science junkies. And so we've just been looking at a lot of just different research trends in and outside of the church. And it really comes down to the fact that, no matter how you are doing physically coming out of this pandemic or even in this pandemic, that there's a lot of, we have to do the check engine light test on ourselves and really ask the question, is everything good underneath the hood? And I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but there you go.
No, this is great to hear because we've been isolated. I know when we're recording this right now, we're coming out of the light is at the end of the tunnel. Things are improving, cases are going down, people are meeting back in person more and more regularly. You don't have to wear your mask in a lot of states still, in a lot of places, but that doesn't mean that things are going okay. I mean, I literally, like 2 weeks before we're talking right now, I literally had another breakdown. I mean, and like things are improving, things are good, but internally, there's still so much messed up that's happened over the past year. So when you talk about the check engine light stuff, and what are some of the questions that you're asking that someone could be, because if they're feeling all weird and not healthy in some way, like what are the kind of questions that we should be asking of ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, the first question that we need to be asking ourselves is, what's our relationship with God look like right now? Because even if things are good and you're not talking to God, you're kind of playing with fire, right? It's like getting in the car without the seatbelt, and like you might have a smooth drive and everything like that, but if you don't have that accountability, that safety, then it really is looking at your spiritual life and developing those spiritual disciplines. There's a lot of times when things aren't going well where we kind of break down and analyze like why, but we also need to do that when things are going well, and that's a little bit of preventative measures in that regards. The other part I would say is, what guardrails, what accountability systems do you have set up in place? One thing that I'm pretty open about is I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for a while. I was originally in therapy when my parents got divorced years ago, and then ministry got me back into therapy.
Go figure, ministry.
Yeah, go figure. But I meet with my therapist at least monthly, and when things are really chaotic, we meet more than that. And so I think we have to be okay just having those measures up.
Well, let me say that one thing to that, because I think there's a lot, and again, this is from a guy's perspective, but I think there's a lot of times where guys think that I can't go see a counselor. I don't need to go talk to someone about this. And I'll be honest, I mean, literally, I've gone to see a counselor on and off. There was a period of time, a 3-year period of time, where I saw a counselor almost twice a month, sometimes just once a month, but I would go see him. And I mean, I felt so much better talking and having him help me process things out. And he helped me with strategies and whatnot. So if if going to counseling is a barrier for you, you got to get over that, because it is so helpful for people to do that.
Yeah, especially if you have trouble processing things, right? Like, and so what I tell people, my therapist doesn't necessarily give me strategies, and there's so many different types of therapy too, which we won't get into, but like what Jessie, my therapist, helps me with is she allows me to just process things aloud, asks questions, and we come to clarity around those different things. And so having a therapist really helps. One of the things I know I need to work on, I've had spiritual directors throughout my career, but I know that's another thing. And that goes back to the relationship you have with God. Like, who is there to offer, prayer strategies and advice, and, hold you accountable to whether you're talking with God. And you can do that with accountability partners, but having a spiritual director is definitely key in that regards. And so I would say those two people are two important people to have in your life, in addition to friends and family that can help you check that engine light and make sure that everything, again, under the hood is good. So.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of times, again, as church leaders and ministers, there's only so much you can share with other people. And so one of the reasons why I like going to see a counselor as well is I can just unload on this person and dump on this person, and they will hear me out and help me really process through the stuff. Again, I can't go to an associate pastor or somebody
Right.
else within my church, because then they feel like you're dogging the church or whatnot. There's a lot of complications. This guy, I'm paying, I'm getting it off my chest, and they're really helping me with that. So I really think that's really helpful to do that.
Definitely. And another thing I think, and this is a lot of self-care that we need to do, but, no matter what your position is in the church, whether you're working with people or just you're a part of the admin staff there, is I think we have to recognize the fact that everyone is approaching this, and not just the pandemic, but everyone's approaching where we are in life differently. And you might be convinced, right, Tom, that, this is the best thing in the world. We're no masks, we're able to go out, all this kind of stuff. While you might have a coworker who is like, oh my gosh, we're moving too soon. People are being careless. Not everyone's vaccinated. Like, what are we going to do? And you could get into a really good argument on who's right or who's wrong. But it's like one of those things that I think are, like our parents tell us, is it about being right at that moment, or is it about having peace? Is it about being like right in that situation and proving your points, or is it about harmony? And because one of the things that we should have learned in this past year is that whether it's things like masks or serious systemic issues like racism and everything like that, if we become polarized, we're not going to progress anywhere. And it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. We're just not going to grow healthy. And so it's really learning, again, how to listen, how to empathize with people, and how to walk with people so that people can do those things with you too.
Yeah, I think Covey says this of seek first to understand rather than be understood.
Mm-hmm.
If we just took that mindset to understand someone, where they're coming from, again, just because I feel a certain way doesn't mean that someone else doesn't. And I love what you just said about that. It's so true. And if we just sit and listen and just not try to push our stuff on other people, we're going to be in such a better place overall. And it's going to help us in healthy ways, again, beyond just the COVID stuff. Go ahead. You were going to say something?
Yeah. And I was going to say, as you look at your ministry schedules for the next year, try to tone down the programmatic stuff, the events, right? And just figure out how you can be present with people.
Yeah.
And I know that's what we were doing for the last year, but we have to do at least another year of that. Because I don't know what the world is going to look like, in the next couple of months, but I know that people still need Christ and they need relationships. And so before you get lost in all the event planning and things like that, just ask yourself this question: how am I spending time with the people I've been called to lead?
Yeah, I love that mindset, because I saw something on Twitter the other day. Some guy said, for the next 6 months, every Sunday will be someone's first Sunday coming back. And they said for the next 6 months, at least every Sunday will be that. And it's so true, because we're all going to be on different things, and it's all about the connection. It's all about the community. And you want to set up that times where you can just be there with people and connect with people. My theme this summer for our student ministry is the summer of connection. We want it to be, that's our theme. So anything that we do, we want to promote connection. So we're less on program, and we're more on just providing opportunities for them to connect. Like, we're going to do an ice cream social just for fun. There's going to be no message tied to it or anything like that. It's just an opportunity for kids to get out and be together and connect in friendly ways and get reacquainted with each other. I mean, relearn who they are. So.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's awesome.
You had mentioned self-care, and think about that. Are there some self-care things that we can be doing right now, or questions that we can be asking ourselves as we kind of move on to a new stage?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. A couple of those things are, one, I always look at time, right? How are you spending your time? if you are just completely exhausted at the end of the day and you find yourself just immersing yourself in binge watching television, or maybe some type of activity that you're not too proud of sharing and everything, you really got to ask yourself, okay, am I overworking? Am I just exhausting myself so much that even in my free time I can't recover? Right? Like, Tom, I don't know if you've had those weeks where you hit the weekend and you're so tired that you don't even get rest on the weekend because you're sleeping, and then Monday rolls around and you're like, oh my gosh, I need another weekend, or I need another vacation, and things like that. So I think we really, in self-care, have to look at the time and say, like, okay, when am I going to go to bed? When am I waking up? Am I stepping away from the screen or the desk for lunch? Am I sitting down? If you have a family, that you live with, like, are you sitting down to enjoy time with them? Like, what does time well spent look like in your household? And really protect that, and really evaluate that. I think, oh, go ahead.
No, I agree completely with that, because where I've gotten into the problems is that because I have a laptop, I just carry my laptop everywhere. So I'm watching TV and I'm working. I can't even enjoy TV because I've gotten into so many unhealthy habits that over COVID, when you were working like nonstop because you're trying to catch up and try to figure out all this online stuff, I've gotten so many. I'm trying to say, no, I got to shut the dang computer and just watch TV and be okay with that,
Yeah, and the other part of it too is I think we've forgotten how to play.
Yes.
Right? Like, everything is about work, and even the stuff that's play has become about work. One thing I haven't really talked a lot about over the years is there was a point where blogging, I started to hate it because it was a hobby of mine when Marathon Youth Ministry started out, and then it felt like work. Right? I got caught up in the SEO and the keywords and all those kind of things, and I basically hit a point where I was just like, I don't care about analytics. And so when people ask me about analytics of the blog, I'm like, I don't know,
Yeah.
and I don't care about that because I missed writing so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to look at and ask the question, like, what do we do in our free time? What does play look like? So one thing that's been helpful, Tom, for me is pretty much every day for about an hour and a half, I get my butt kicked by my 11-year-old son in Xbox.
Nice.
He keeps getting better. I don't, because he's practicing more than I do, which is a whole nother conversation. But I enjoy that playtime so much because I know I'm never going to be a professional gamer. I know that, like, it's not something I brag about, but I get to spend time with my son doing something fun. And so I think a huge part of self-care that we overlook is, when do you get to play?
Yeah. No, and I think by you doing that, you're setting a great example for your son and your family, that down the road, I mean, remember when Dad did this with us? That was such a valuable time for us. And again, it's something simple, but I love it. I love what you just said. We've forgotten how to play sometimes. And I'm right there. I am struggling mightily right now to figure out what I love to do, and not where it's not considered work. Everything's work for me now. And I got to get out and I got to do some things. So this is really encouraging for me to hear. Well, as we kind of wrap up, because I know we could dig into this a lot, but as we kind of wrap up a little bit, what kind of encouragement would you give to us and to explore this some more?
Don't hold this in. If you are feeling like you're going crazy and the world's going crazy and you don't know what to do, find someone that you trust and just ask them to listen and pray with you. I mean, just seriously, like, the last thing you want to do is just hold on to this. And so I would encourage you to definitely reach out. And if you're not sure how to get started with, like, things like therapy or whatnot, call your insurance company. I'm sure there's tons of resources out there. You can reach out to us at marathonyouthministry.com. We'd be more than willing to explore those opportunities with you. But last thing you want to do is to deal with this on your own, because when you're dealing with this on your own, it is impossible to overcome some of these challenges that we face.
Yeah, and Chris and his team at Marathon Youth Ministry are great. They have a lot of different resources out there. So do you have anything coming up right now, Chris, that you want to highlight?
Yeah, just over the summer, we're starting to put together plans for our fall cohorts. These ministry cohorts are for leaders who want to learn some of these hard skills and soft skills to build different ministries. We talk a lot about leadership formation and development. And so you can, in the meantime, go to marathonyouthministry.com, subscribe to our newsletter, and we'll send you some updates and content there. But no, other than that, Tom, just trying to take the summer to catch up on this tan that I can never get because I'm such a pale person. But no, we're good otherwise.
Well, you got to go to some Yankee games, and now that we can go to the games again. So I have plans to go see the Nats play a few times this summer, so that'll be fun for me.
Hey, we just talked about mental health. I don't know if I can see the Yankees right now. So
That's great. Well, definitely, I'll have all your links in the show notes. So, Chris, as always, I wish I could talk to you a little bit longer today, but I really appreciate you taking time to spend with me today.
Anytime, Tom. Always good to see you, man.
All right, so there you have it, my conversation with Christopher Wesley. It's always great to talk to him. And again, if you want to keep on getting these kind of conversations coming to you every other week, definitely subscribe to it. I got it on iTunes and Spotify. And then every other weeks, I've got the Digital in 5 show where I talk about digital tools and trends for 5 minutes. And it's just a cool little quick tip. You can get that at iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube. Actually, all my content that I have is on ymsidekick.com. So if you want to get all this stuff, subscribe to it, go to ymsidekick.com, and you can get information like this on a regular basis. But I would love to hear your thoughts on what Chris shared and what we talked about your mental health and how to take care of yourself now that we're coming out of COVID. So definitely go on Twitter. I live on Twitter, so I love Twitter, and I hope you love Twitter too. But go on Twitter and hit me up at TA Pounders, my Twitter handle, and you can share your thoughts and your comments, or you can just simply email me, tom@ymsidekick.com. I would love to talk to you a little bit more about this and carry on this conversation. Well, all right, heroes. Well, thanks so much for joining me. As always, you can subscribe to it, as I talked about just a minute before. But I will have more of these conversations coming up throughout the summer, so I'd love for you to stay in tune with that. If you've got ideas, hit me up, tom@ymsidekick.com, with any ideas. Or, again, you can message me on Twitter or any other social platform. I would love to talk to you a little bit more about that. All right, heroes. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week. And until next time, have a great one.